The article I read called Reframing the Mind is based off of some of the written works of Howard Gardner on his theory of multiple intelligences, wherein Daniel T. Willingham checks Gardner's facts. In the article, Willingham tells us that in 1983 Gardner first proposed his theory of multiple intelligences, which, over the years, has remained largely the same with few changes and all boils down to three core claims. The first claim Gardner makes in his theory is that most psychometricians, a person who makes and interprets intelligence tests, see intelligence as unitary. Willingham, however, proposes this claim to be false and states in the defense of the before-mentioned psychometricians that the vast majority regard intelligence not as a single unified entity, but as a multifaceted phenomenon with hierarchical structure. The second claim Gardner makes is that each individual person possesses at least 8 different types of intelligences, which are linguistic, logical-mathematical, spatial, musical, bodily kinesthetic, interpersonal, intrapersonal, and naturalistic. According to Gardner, everybody has all 8 intelligences at least to a certain degree, but each individual has their own stronger and weaker intelligences. He includes in his theory the fact that most tasks require a person to use more than one intelligence at a time. However, a claim central to his theory is that each intelligence is separate and independent of other intelligences. Willingham takes issue with the fact that Gardner's theory does not account for the correlation between performances on intellectual tasks that has been shown to be the case by data collected over 100 years, because his claim of independence of each intelligence does not include a general factor. Willingham also believes that Gardner does a poor job of backing up the intelligences he chose because although its 8 criteria are rigorous, they are weakened by the fact that not all criteria need to be satisfied when determining whether or not something is considered an intelligence. Willingham says that if he were to use the criteria the way Gardner does, he could create a humor intelligence or a memory intelligence along with others. To sum it up, Willingham states, Gardner's second claim, that he has described multiple independent varieties of intelligences, is not true. Intellectual abilities are correlated, not independent. Gardner's third claim is that you can apply the multiple intelligence theory to education. To Willingham, the importance does not lie in the fact of whether or not this is true, but rather if it actually does inspire change in curriculum, and in what way it does so. He says that there are many textbooks that offer teacher training on the subject, but with little to no criticism. He also says that there are a great many materials available to the classroom that support the theory of multiple intelligences. Judging by these available resources, it can be said that educators use the theory of multiple intelligences to expand curriculum to appeal to all of the intelligences, and to provide a pedagogical stratagem. Gardner, however, does not agree with this theory being used in education in such a way. He himself does not believe that each intelligence should be schooled, and an educator's shallow attempt to use his intelligences in pedagogy, they are not even usually doing what it takes to engage in intelligence. Willingham's final criticism of Gardner introduces the question as to why it is that so many educators are confused on what Gardner's theory was claiming. Gardner was unquestionably not the first psychologist to point out that humans have many different abilities, such as musical, athletic, and interpersonal abilities. As Willingham somewhat humorously states, who didn't know that some kids are good musicians, some are good athletes, and they may not be the same kids? The only reason Gardner has gotten so much attention on his theory is that he named various abilities as intelligences, and this is where the problem lies. When most people think of intelligence, they connect it to the type of skills that would help a person to be successful in school. When we look at it this way, Willingham tells us it is not only natural that those who read Gardner's works would assume that if it is a type of intelligence, then schools should teach it. Willingham's conclusion is that Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences is not all that helpful for scientists or educators, and that we would do well to turn our time and attention elsewhere.
Created using Powtoon.